Hi, Dr. Regan Robertson, CCO of Productive Dentist Academy here, and I have a question for you. Are you finding it hard to get your team aligned to your vision, but you know you deserve growth just like everybody else? That's why we've created the PDA Productivity Workshop. For nearly 20 years, PDA workshops have helped dentists just like you align their teams, get control of scheduling, and create productive practices that they love walking into every day. Just imagine how you will feel when you know your schedule is productive, your systems are humming, and your team is aligned to your vision. It's simple, but it's not necessarily easy. We can help. Visit productivedentist.com/workshop. That's productivedentist.com/workshop to secure your seats now.
We don't have any high and mighty people that work with PDA. I mean, we've got a lot of phenomenal folks, but they're all willing to share their journey and, where they've gotten to and how they got there. And all of our folks that work with us, including yourself, and we can go down through our employees. They're all people who are striving to be the best they can be.
Welcome to the Everyday Practices Podcast. I'm Regan Robertson, and my co-host, Dr. Chad Johnson, and I are on a mission to share the stories of everyday dentists who generate extraordinary results using practical, proven methods you can take right into your own dental practice. If you're ready to elevate patient care and produce results that are anything but ordinary, buckle up and listen in.
Welcome to a special cross-collaboration podcast episode of The Productive Dentist with Dr. Bruce B. Baird and Everyday Practices Dental Podcast with Regan Robertson. Self-reflection can be a powerful aid in our journey, or a crutch that can bury us in that victim mindset. Bruce and I have joined forces for this special two-part episode to provide insight on how you can use your past experiences to fuel your future success. Let's stay in that abundant mindset and get you the best 2024 you can possibly achieve. We also dive into the new features offered at the PDA Productivity Workshop and the all-new Seller Readiness Summit, and even provide you with some of our strategies that you can implement to achieve your goals. This is an action-packed two-part series just for you. Let's dive in. This makes a lot of sense because when we bring in alliance partners to the events, we know that we have vetted them out carefully. They align with the philosophy. And I think the same goes for the investment grade practice and the seller readiness. We brought in additional speakers that have that same level of excellence, which is a really high standard. Talk to me about Kyle Francis a little bit. Kyle Francis, we have podcasts with him. I will link all of the podcasts, by the way, everyone, that we have done with Dr. Maggie Augustine, with Wade Kiefer. I think we have one with Jackson Bean, but Kyle Francis is another exceptional partner of ours, helping over at IGP and Seller Readiness, but he's not a doctor. Tell us about Kyle and how you got to meet him.
Kyle, people come into your life, for a reason or for a season, or there's all those sayings. But Kyle and I have gotten to know each other over the last 3 years, and I find out that Kyle went to college with my daughter and my son-in-law, and he knows my Maggie, anyway. But Kyle has a unique business sense. He understands. He's in the business of seller readiness. He's in the business of all of that. He's got the number one brokerage firm in the country.
He does?
Practice Transition Strategies is his company, and it's the largest brokerage firm. But now he's stepped into becoming an investment banker. So his knowledge is so beyond what what I understand. And so it's funny because I love talking to Kyle, because I ask him questions that are totally stupid questions.
There's no stupid questions.
I know, but he makes me feel like it's the first time he's heard that question, and so I ask a question like, same store sales or what. I said, no, wait, what do you mean by this? Or what do you mean by this term? And so I have learned so much in the last 3 years. And I think our relationship has grown because we're back and forth. He's able to ask me questions about the dental industry and dentistry, although he knows it very, very well. But just a solid person as the day is long, a great human being. And I have enjoyed his knowledge in practice transitions and brokering and investment banking and private equity. And I have asked, I love hanging around people that are a lot smarter than me. And because I figure I'm going to learn. One of my favorite people here in town where I live in Granbury, and unfortunately he just passed, but he was like a real estate magnet. He was the guy. And I knew him because I had used him. He was a financier. He was all this stuff. And I'd used him. I had owned some properties, real estate properties. I'd owned some shopping centers and stuff like that. And I always respected him. But anyway, so I brought him a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue, which is his favorite drink. And I brought it over to his house. I said, "Hey, John, I wanted to give you this." And I started going over and having a sip of Johnny Walker Blue with him on his back patio every month for the last 2 years. And like I say, unfortunately, he just passed. But those were wonderful times for me to ask questions. And he was willing to share all of his knowledge. Well, that's the way Kyle is. Kyle is like, you ask him the questions. He's always there is no there is no barrier. There's no barrier there. I mean, you can literally ask anything, and he's going to share with you his knowledge, and he's going to share with you his take on it. And he's also humble enough to say, that's not the only way of doing things. There are other ways to do it also. I'm just going to share with you what I know. And that to me is amazing.
One of my favorite Bruce Baird quotes of all time, which I'm not going to tattoo it, but it's tattoo worthy, is be the best at what you can be at and then share it with others. And I love that. I carry that with me quite a bit. And aren't we both really lucky with the people that we've surrounded ourselves with? One of my mentors, Skip Miller, which I brought up on our last podcast episode with Chad, passed away recently, but he embodied that character. And don't mean to be emotional, but you could call him for anything. And what I find in the leaders that are truly admirable from my perspective is they are experts in their field, and that can be so intimidating. And you can wield your expertise in ways that feel intimidating. And Kyle is super humble. I was nervous the first time I even reached out to him, and I thought, oh, this is a big company. And I wanted validation. Actually, I wanted validation from his experience in brokering practices. If the marketing that we provide really does increase the value of the practice. And he didn't. And so I would have probably said I don't believe in stupid questions, but that's how I felt. I felt like it was a lower level question. And he never made me feel that way, not for an instant. And I think that's what you're saying is you can ask anything and he'll make you feel comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, and those are all the people that we surround ourselves with. I mean, we don't have any, we don't have any high and mighty people that work with PDA. I mean, we've got a lot of phenomenal folks, but they're all willing to share their journey and, where they've gotten to and how they got there. And all of our folks that work with us, including yourself, and we can go down through our employees. They're all people who are striving to be the best they can be. And I can say that just across the board because, we've never, I don't know. Our philosophy is we've never arrived. We're on the journey and there's a lot to learn, and gosh, that is fun. I mean, because you know what, if there's nothing else to learn, I think that's when you die. I think that's when it's over, and I don't want it to be over. I really want to continue to learn so that, my life has meaning. And so it's whether it be watching my grandkids do something, I want to learn more about what they're doing. I want to, it's all of that. So you get to become, again, the older you get, the more you reflect. And
Wow.
and I enjoy it. I enjoy seeing where I've been and where I'm going. I would hate to think I'm in the same place that I was 10 years ago, or the same place I was 20 years ago. And we've surrounded ourselves at Productive Dentist Academy with people that are just like that. So that's why I love work. I mean, I love working with folks that have that idea in their mind. I don't like arrogant I don't like arrogant know-it-alls. I just don't. I just don't surround myself with people like that. And we all have people that we know that are just like that. And I just don't spend much time with them because they already know it. I can't help them. So let them do their thing. So anyway.
Well, this gives us a good window of what you can expect. Whether you're thinking about transitioning but have never been to PDA, and so you're want to come to the seller readiness, or if you've been through the productivity workshop and you're ready for 2.0, coming to investment grade practices, or you're joining us at the workshop. That we have so many avenues for it, and I think it gives a really good flavor for what you can expect. One of the most powerful things, and I round out our very long conversation. Thank you for taking all this time with me. I have a lot of fun doing this. It's a balance. No matter your industry, no matter your trade or your craft, to me, it comes down to two elements, and it's data and it's emotion, and how you blend the two and communicate. And I want to wrap back around to something you said earlier, that you said really gets some dentists tied up in bunches, and it gets me tied up in bunches. Is the best clinician doesn't always win. The best communicator wins.
Yeah.
And that is, that's a hero's journey. That's a mission in and of itself. I get up thinking, Bruce, every day about the dentist that is so totally gifted and can bring someone to health, and they don't have the skills to get over the hump and attract those patients that they deserve.
It's the saddest story. I mean, we see it. People have been through Coist, they've been through Spear, they've been through Pankey, they've been through Dawson, they've been through all these programs. They've spent a fortune learning the best techniques, the best technology, the best of everything, but yet they haven't learned to communicate so a patient says yes. It's not sales. People say I'm a great salesman. I mean, I can sell ice to Eskimos and the whole story, but the reason I do it is because I'm so committed. I believe so much in what we're doing. It's easy for me to sell. I couldn't sell if I just couldn't. I mean, I could not sell anything if I wasn't totally committed.
You're not selling. You solve problems. You solve problems for people. That's how it be. And that comes from a genuine heart too. I think to me, that's how I define the difference between sales and a solution. I know we have to use the word sales, but that's what I see.
I love that. Sales it's not sales, it's solutions. And that might be my next podcast. So
let's make that the next podcast.
It's not sales, it's solutions. And so that's why I always tell patients, if I was in your situation, this is kind of the way I'd be thinking. This is what I would do. Now, there's a lot of different ways of doing things, but this is what I would do if it was me. And then if you built that trust and that relationship with the patient, it's so easy to get patients to say yes. But it's when you get bound down with your anal retentive dental background, the engineering background, and you want to explain to them how you do a filling. People don't care how you do the filling. They want to know what that filling is going to do for them. It's going to make this tooth last. It's going to mean you're not going to have pain. You're not going to whatever. But, we get way too technical. And that's why I always say there's only two types of patients. There's engineers and non-engineers. And the biggest problem with dentists, we're engineers. And not many of our patients are engineers. You have to understand, if I'm going to tell somebody, if I've got a pilot in the chair, or if I've got an engineer in the chair, I do have to talk about the molecular structure of titanium. I do have to do these things. But 80% of my patients could care less about any of that. They don't give a crap about any of that. They just want to like me.
Yeah.
They want to like the office. And then they'll do whatever we ask them to do. So yeah, I'm super excited and super pumped to be able to share that at the workshop over the last 20 years.
One of the coolest investments of, I think, PDAs entirely. This is completely biased since I am the chief communication officer with PDA. The best investment we have made is taking that internal communication that you're talking about, your proprietary, this is how I talk to patients, and cohesively moving that into your external advertising and your external message so that the whole thing feels seamless. When you're getting a massage and like they don't take one hand is always on at some point. They typically don't have a handoff. That's how I think of external advertising, pulling it through the entire patient experience. And this year, I guess I'm super pumped. I couldn't get even any more pumped for this. We have, I will be presenting the elements of authentic marketing versus authority marketing. So if you want to expand beyond a 50-mile radius and you want to build out your own persona, there's 2 programs for that. I hit on at the workshop and IGP. In Investment Grade Practice Summit, though, we have Dr. Adrienne Reynolds, our Chief Human Resources Officer, and Matt Hutchings, who is our Employer Brand Manager. So I don't know how many practices today think about marketing to attract talent, but we started thinking about this years ago, and we have an entire division now devoted to this because of the challenges that sprung up from COVID. We had all of this fallout. And nothing, so one part that's really frustrating is a doctor who can't communicate how clinically excellent they are. The secondary piece is, what if you have constant team turnover, or you just can't find team?
Right. I actually did a podcast on team this past week for Productive Dentist Academy, for Productive Dentist podcast. But yeah, it is very frustrating. There are things that hold you back, not being able to be a team, not being able to communicate with the patients, but those are all solvable. Those are all fixable. Can you have a persona that's 100 miles away from your practice? I think so, because we did it. We did it. Our average new patient would come 50 to 75 miles to come to our practice. And we're in Odunk, Texas, out in Granbury, Texas. So can it be done? Yes. But I would hate to do that if I couldn't communicate with the patients.
Yeah.
Because they would come 90 miles and I wouldn't be able to get them to say yes. And most people, they're really fired up about getting new patients. I need new patients. No, you really don't. For the most part, 95% of all dental practices, if they just did the work on the people that were in their office, that had already come, that were treatment pending, that they told them they needed it, but they didn't do it, you don't need any new patients. You just need to work on the people that you have. And, so when you're doing that and you're communicating and you're getting a lot of people to say yes, and you expand your marketing through authentic marketing, and it's the real deal, and people are coming in, guess what happens to productivity? It skyrockets. Guess what happens to stress? It goes way down. Guess what happens to your life? I don't know. You're helping more people. And if that's, the money always takes care of itself. So it's not about production per hour. It is, but that's how I measure. That's how I measure things. But the money always takes care of itself. Just take great care of people. And if you do that, you don't have to worry. I had a partner that walked out, not a partner, but an associate that walked out, took eight employees and opened up down the street. And he was a good friend of mine, I thought. And I could have done a lot of things. I could have sued him. They were running charts off in the office. They were doing all this. And, I talked to a very, very knowledgeable dentist. He happened to be an orthodontist in my office, kind of a traveling. He came into the office a couple days a week, and he was I thought he was like 60 years old, but I found out after he passed, he was like 80, but he was in great shape and everything else. But the reason I bring it up is he told me, he said, Bruce, and this is 35 years ago, he said, Bruce, just don't worry about it. Just take great care of your patients, and everything else will take care of itself. And I said, you're right. And the only thing I did put a billboard above his trailer that he opened. He had a single trailer, and I put a billboard talking dentistry for the new millennium. And
Really?
we have paved parking. We have, because you got to go. That was the only thing I did. That was a little rude, but what I'll say is I concentrated on taking great care of the patients, just like Travis told me. And what ended up happening was in 4 months, we were producing about 30% more than we used to produce with 8 more employees and an associate. And, that taught me a great lesson 35 years ago. It was like, just take great care of the patients, and, everything else take care of itself. So it's a true story.
You're good at staying in the hero's mindset as opposed to the victim. You don't play victim well.
It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. That's the scarcity mindset as opposed to abundance. And, if we can share that with dentists across the country, then we've done some amazing stuff, and we've really helped some people. So that's my my deal. I'm at the point in my life where this is my jam. This is what I like, and but I really feel like I've been that way for a good portion of my career.
Well, you've said often that there is no silver bullet. It's a lot of different little things. And I think if I can take away from this particular episode, there is a silver bullet. Take great care of patients, and the rest will follow. And how that happens is through many little tiny steps. And I thank you and Victoria both for putting together 3 events that take a look at those intersections that in the long run equate to taking great care of patients.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, thank you for your time today, Dr. Bruce. Are you going back to Cabo anytime soon, or are you staying in Dallas?
I'm going to be, I'm working with private equity group Skylark in Dallas, which is exciting. And they're all PDA docs, so they're all unicorns. And so it's kind of fun, and going to all these offices, finding out what they're doing, that is special in their office, and sharing it with the other offices that are part of the deal. So I'm super pumped.
Unicorn is an actual financial term, isn't it?
I think so.
I believe it is. I'll have to ask Kyle. I think it is a real term. And let's end on that note. Unicorns. We create unicorns at PDA.
We are creating unicorns. That's what's fun. Thanks, Regan.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Everyday Practices Podcast. Chad and I are here every week thanks to our community of listeners just like you, and we'd love your help. It would mean the world if you can help spread the word by sharing this episode with a fellow dentist and leave us a review on iTunes or Spotify. Do you have an extraordinary story you'd like to share, or feedback on how we can make this podcast even more awesome? Drop us an email at podcast@productivedentist.com. And don't forget to check out our other podcasts from Productive Dentist Academy at productivedentist.com/podcasts. See you next week.